I am so excited to have you here, and we're going to be talking about everything that you have done with Hubbard Peanut Company. Sorry, short, and it's Hubs for short, correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm just pumped about this conversation. So if you don't mind, we have kind of a tradition where I let you introduce yourself and kind of your journey of how you ended up working in the family business.
Sure. Well, Michael, thank you so much for having me. It's really fun to be here this morning. Well, I think like most members of a family business, they grew up in it in some capacity. My grandparents started the business from their home back in the 50s and ran it for a while until my mother came in the late 70s. I was obviously a young boy in the 80s and remember going around the production line and riding on the conveyor belts and doing all that kind of fun stuff as a little kid, and always knew the business and the brand and would, started out my sales journey giving peanuts to my teachers for holiday gifts in elementary school and things of that nature. So always been working.
There was no apples for the teacher, huh?
No apples. It was strictly peanuts here in Southampton County. But so I started my sales and marketing journey as an elementary school student, handing out the product and promoting it around town. But I was never felt any pressure to come back into the business. I was always interested in kind of my own path. And after college, I was a history and environmental studies major. And wanted to travel and explore the world, and international education was kind of my path to do so, to have someone pay me to travel and to continue my education abroad. And so I worked for the JET program, which is through the Japanese Ministry of Education, lived in a small village in Japan, and taught English and was kind of a cultural liaison between American culture and rural Japanese culture, which was great. And then I was on this path to start an international school in my mind and started working for a gap year program. And I led college students on study abroad trips all over the developing world, Africa and India, Central South America, and Southeast Asia. So spent most of my 20s abroad, studying the world, studying cuisine from all over the world, just different cultures and history, and loved that. And came back and taught geography and world history for a stint at our local school here in Southampton County, and then was inspired to start a different business. And so I moved to Nashville, Tennessee to work on a startup that never really took off. But while I was working on that startup, I wanted to get more involved in the food business. And so I started working at Whole Foods as a specialty foods buyer. And I was at that point, I was learning a lot more about branding, packaging, just CPG in general. And then I was working to get Hubs into Whole Foods South while working in the specialty food department, which was great. So I did that, but was able to really learn specialty food, grocery, and that side of the business before coming back to work for Hubs. And so the startup obviously never took off, but I gained a lot more experience and knowledge in CPG and specialty foods at Whole Foods, which is great to learn their culture and to kind of work for someone else, to see how a different corporate entity was structured. And so that was very good for me. And then kind of came back and pitched my family kind of this sales and marketing role that I thought we needed. And so that I moved back here. I started working in 2014 remotely, and then moved back in 2016 to really focus on sales, marketing, and now kind of transitioning into leadership. So it's been a very circuitous route back to Virginia, but I'm here and I'm really thrilled.
Years between riding on the conveyor belt in high school and coming back to, the business, how long were you out?
Well, so I went to boarding school. I left when I was 15, and then I moved back essentially at 34. And so I was gone for quite some time. But I always, while I was traveling and doing a lot of international development and international relations work, like it was great and a wonderful experience, but I always felt drawn back to our community. We're a small rural town. Franklin is about 45 minutes west of Norfolk, Virginia Beach. And, there are some higher rates of poverty, obesity, diabetes. We've got our educational system is struggling a little bit. So there were a lot of things that I was seeing that we were working on abroad, and I was getting a glimpse into these communities that I felt like were the same issues at home, right? And so it was, and I knew that with this business, we were very much community oriented and community driven. That's something that my grandparents instilled, and my mother and my father grew up in this town and had the same thing. So I felt like business really could be a part of a small community and hopefully be impactful in many different ways. And so that's part of what I've brought to the table, or at least trying to articulate that message across our company and community differently. So
I love it. Thank you for sharing. It's a great journey. Your skill set, had you not done that, think about everything that you brought back to the business. Number one, there's just so many different things that you brought back to the business. But one of the things I love the most is the fact that you're like, I'm out doing the work for other people's communities. Would be really nice to be able to do some of that right back at home.
sure.
And you're
Yeah.
1,000% correct. We need, people like you and us and what we're doing with, our community. And we try to give back as often as we possibly can as well. And we look at how we do it a little differently, meaning that like when we're working and coaching one of the family businesses that we work with, we're impacting every one of those employees and all of their families. And so it goes that way. But I love